Now, here's your hosts, the League Dad, Kevin, Mitchell, and Alistair.
What's up, gamers, and welcome to another episode of the All-In Podcast presented by Excellency Esports. We are just so excited that you're here, whether you're listening to this on your podcast platforms, or if you're watching this on Twitch, YouTube, or if you're on the Excellency broadcast right now. Thank you so much for joining. As always, I have the rest of the fellas here. We've got Kevin, Mitchell, and Alistair. Guys, how are you all doing?
Doing honestly not that great, guys. My team kind of lost 0-3, and I don't know, man. They're on a freaking minimum wage McDonald's salary. Like, what do you want from them, man? They tried so hard. Like, they had a great regular season, and it's just, like, how can you put in the effort when you're getting paid minimum wage? Like, you go home and you're eating McDonald's for the 7th time this week, right? It's like, how many chicken nuggets can you really have?
Yeah.
The ice cream machine broke, right? As usual. You go to McDonald's, the ice cream machine broke. So, sucks.
Yeah, disappointing. I was thinking about that, all during the series of 100 Thieves Dignitas, and I was thinking about you and Alistair specifically, because I know you guys have a soft spot for, not amateurs, but, that team. You guys were that team, like they were the NA no import team, and it kind of had a dream run. It kind of came crashing down, but I'm sorry, Mitchell. I'm sorry.
Me too, man.
Yeah.
Me too.
Man, you gotta call them an amateur team by accident. That's a Freudian slip.
Not really an accident. No, I'm just kidding. It was an accident. I didn't mean to call them an amateur team, but I know you have a soft spot for the no import team.
As we should.
Yeah. Kevin, how would you think?
What's up with you, Kevin?
I mean, like, I had an okay time. I have actually had the first fun I've had playing MOBAs, just like the pure fun playing Wild Rift recently. Excellent gameplay. Honestly, if the servers don't crash as much, it's a sick game. I'm surprised at how intuitive it is, and I could definitely see it. If I was like in class and bored, this would be like one of the best phone games I've ever played in terms of depth of gameplay as well as options to express skill.
Yeah, I'm assuming you're talking about
it's really easy.
You're talking about Wild Rift, right? Just for anybody who might not know the happenings, because I actually didn't even know it was out. It just came out, a couple days ago? Is that what we said?
Yeah, it came out today, actually.
Today?
Officially today, but it was on the iOS store yesterday and the Android store.
I'll have to check it out. I know the graphics look great. It looks pretty fun. How was it playing on, your mobile device? Was it weird compared to, PC?
It's weird, but like as long as you know what your abilities do, like a lot of it translates well. The only thing that's hard is the targeting.
Yeah.
But like it feels sick. Like you still get that same adrenaline rush and everything. The only weird part is because we're stuck at home. Like mobile games, like I don't really get the point of only playing a mobile game.
Yeah,
right?
that's
You're just like
true.
holding your phone with your big PC in front of you. You're like,
this doesn't feel right.
I see the long-term viability, and there's a lot of new players. So like I'm not saying to go hunt new players, but go welcome them to the Rift.
Maybe I'll feel good about myself for once.
Hey, it's possible. It's really fun.
Oh, jeez.
I recommend playing characters without too many skill shots. It's easier.
I try to do that anyways on League, so no change there.
Yumi.
That's right. I've been playing volleyball.
Yumi's not in this game, so you can play off.
Okay, there you go.
Great. I love it.
All right, he's happy.
I'm probably not going to play it anyways because I don't really play mobile games. But,
Oh, man.
Hey. Someday cool. Yumi's gonna push you to do it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Just wait till Gwen one-shots you 5 times in a row.
Oh gosh, that champion.
It won't be anything new, man. I'm already getting one shot by 0-7 Malphites, so
nothing different. Okay. Well, besides getting one shot by those Malphites, how are you, Alistair?
Not bad, not much. Got knocked out by YO.
I saw it was a banger of a series, though. I will say
we almost reverse swept. It was really good.
Great.
Congrats on them.
Yep.
Good luck to them. Possibly later if you're watching on the broadcast, or on Thursday if you're watching it live.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you guys did well. I was watching it. I love the casting, by the way. I'm telling you guys, if you haven't checked out any of Excellency's matches or games. It's an awesome production, and it's really fun to watch. So I was super excited, cheering for Alistair the whole time. It got kind of late, it's past my bedtime, but I tried my best to stay all the way to Game 5. But it's all good. Let's go ahead and go to our weekend recap. Obviously, it was the lower bracket. I always tend to say losers bracket, and I realize that doesn't sound so nice. So it's the lower bracket. I like how that's framed nicer. But yeah, we had first up TSM versus EG. Man, this game, you guys know, as a TSM fan, I was sweating. I even though it was 3-1, it felt like a much closer series. But what did you guys think of that 3-1 series from TSM EG?
Yeah, it was pretty sketchy, it felt like, from TSM. It was a very uncomfortable win, in my opinion, for them. I mean, they came
Yeah.
out 3-1, and that was nice, but the Nocturne top I was not sold on. Even though they did win twice with it, it
Yeah.
just felt like Huni wasn't playing, exactly how he wanted to. He was just kind of like getting ganked and dying in lane, right? And that is
Yeah.
Nocturne's problem, right? You have no really way to get out. You just kind of die. So if you don't have great wave manipulation or a good sense of where the enemy jungle is, that kind of stuff can happen. And, EG was, obviously not the greatest team in this tournament. And it did not bring me confidence that they
Mm.
could, actually look for the championship, right? When I'm looking at them versus TL or C9, I expect them to not have improved very much, honestly.
Yeah.
It was really sketchy. I think some things to note was their bot lane played really well. Spica played 4 games of Udyr, and that's a little interesting because we are going to be stuck on 11.5, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, we didn't see any Hecarim prio. I think Udyr and Hecarim, it's a conversation to say which one is best, but I'm starting to favor Hecarim a bit more. Um, yeah, those are my overall thoughts. Honestly, a bit of a lackluster series, I think, from both teams, to sum it up.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say, yeah, it was a little lackluster in the sense that I thought EG could have brought a bit more to the table.
Yes.
I thought Impact played alright. I thought that TSM is exactly what I predicted before. It was a 3-1. TSM played at the level that I expected them during the Liquid Series. It's just honestly, EG is not a better team.
Mm-hmm.
So TSM did a consistent job handling them. I think a highlight is I think Sora played well. So that's, I mean, I don't know if he needs a confidence boost. He's a super veteran, but at the very least, that's good. Lost is still playing all right. Like, I think that they're leveling up, and hopefully they get enough momentum going forward to take down who I think is going to be probably C9 in the lower bracket.
They got to get through 100 Thieves first, though. But
Yep. We gotta get through 100
Yeah, they
Thieves
do.
Yeah.
That's true.
yeah, we'll hit on them too.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at the halfway through game one until about 25-ish minutes, I think it was, I was honestly getting worried for TSM.
Yeah.
I thought EG was playing really well, but it did kind of seem like I don't know, they just lost it at
Yeah.
some point during the series. They came back won game two, and then I don't know, it just kind of lost the other 2 games. I feel like.
Yeah.
I also don't think the Nocturne pick was that great. I'm just not a fan. Nocturne is a very good champion. I don't like him top lane.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah, I can agree with
let's
that.
unpack that a little bit more, right? Because I have this as one of the points here. TSM spicy draft, right? Because
Yeah.
when I saw it at first, I don't know if I typed this in Discord or just thought it out loud, but I was like, this is either going to be really good or really terrible, right? Especially with Huni, I never know what to expect with Huni. And you mentioned this. Mitchell, actually, you mentioned this, that, with Huni in the top lane, sometimes he can get ganked easily. And I'm thinking to myself, is that really a Nocturne thing or a Huni thing? Because I feel like Huni is often, more often than not, caught out in not so good positions. But talking about that Nocturne, I felt like, what you guys think, maybe it's not good alone, but I did really like the combo with Rel, because I felt like they could pretty much eliminate Tristana before she could even get going. I know there were 2 key fights in game 1 where Tristana did 0 damage, literally, because she was out of the fight before they could even get going. Like, she even tried a W, but with Nocturne's ult and Stridebreaker, layered on top of Rel's ult and CC, like, it's impossible for her to get out. And I was listening to the co-stream of, Sneaky and double lift, and as ADC main, Sneaky was like, that just looks terrible to play against. He's like, you
Yeah.
just can't
It is.
do anything. So I mean,
Yeah, so the combo right there is like Nocturne flies in and then Rel uses her E stun
mhm,
and it's like instant, right? If you time it perfectly.
yeah,
Yeah, that's really it's really hard to play against. You basically just have to have like multiple peels and multiple cleanses and stuff like that.
yeah,
But it's not like there aren't other champions that can do that, right? Because yeah, you one shot the ADC, but I feel like if EG was a better team or had a different draft,
mhm,
like you could just build a bunch of like tanks and bruisers, and Nocturne can't one shot you, and you don't care if your ADC dies because you have a bunch of bruisers, right?
mhm,
So that's why I don't really like it. I mean, it worked out for them obviously because the team was better, but I do really want to see it against 100 Thieves even, right? Like
yeah,
maybe it'll work against 100 Thieves, but honestly, like that one combo is really strong, but I don't know if it's worth like all this other stuff, right? Like its
mhm,
scaling isn't very good. It's like its lane prio is like really suspect because you have to just push, auto push, right, with your
mhm,
passive and your Q,
yep,
and you don't have any escapes. You just, I don't think it's worth it. So,
okay.
um, but the combo's cool, right?
And to be fair, they only got the Rel that first game, and they
Mm,
picked Nocturne again. I believe it was game 3,
mm.
and they
Good
weren't able to get
Nautilus.
Rel, but they had Nautilus, which works similarly. In fact, I would venture to say that I think the one engage where Sword Art was able to hook Tristan in the mid lane, immediately ult, and then Nocturne ults. That fight right there, I feel like set the catalyst because I felt like in game 3, EG was winning that. And keep in mind, they had just stomped TSM in game 2. So I
Yeah, they
felt like the
did.
momentum was really in favor of EG. And I was getting, as a fan, I was getting really worried because it looked like TSM was slipping out of their hands. But that one engage to me felt like it turned everything around, and they were able to get the momentum back in their favor. But speaking of drafts and stuff, I feel like TSM has been. They've definitely shored up their early game. Like we've been looking at stats, and at least I have. In the last 2 weeks of regular season and into the playoffs, they've been doing a much better job at early objective control. But that doesn't necessarily mean their early game is that great. You notice that they kept dying. They might be up in objectives, but they were down in kills all the time. Usually behind in gold, even though they were getting heralds and all of that stuff. And to me, when I looked closer, it seems that TSM has two big problems. One is Huni. In that top lane, because even without the Nocturne, he goes Camille with TP Ignite. And yes, he doesn't expect Svenskeren to go all the way top and gank, in game, what was it, game 2 or 3? I can't remember. But there's just no reason why he should be chasing so hard for a kill onto their top lane without knowing where they are. And I think a lot of times he does go a little too aggressive and doesn't play safe. He finally played safe later, but that didn't happen. And then two, the second thing is that I feel like when they do go for skirmishes, TSM is really bad at valuing their strength. Because mid lane a lot of times in that series did not have prio. Yone had prio a lot of times, and they were still taking the fights. And you're kind of scratching your head like, why is TSM still taking this fight? So I want to get your
Udyr
thoughts
brain.
on that. Yeah, Udyr brain.
Udyr brain. Speaking
Yeah,
just like goes in and then he realizes the rest of the team is way too slow and not as tanky and it just kind of falls apart. I've seen it so many times.
a lot.
Udyr is just too fast, too tanky. You just feel invincible, but your team isn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the draft, like, okay, so yes, the Udyr brain, I definitely agree. I watched him, I was like, huh, it's not something I'm very confident in against a team that can punish it. I will say that I heard in an interview from Huni, I think it was Travis or someone, he was talking about how he sees that Nocturne is just a good counter to what mid lane Jizuke plays on EG.
Hmm.
And I kind of understand it. Like, if you conceptually think of the Jizuke champions, like, yeah, Nocturne has a pretty good matchup and can put pressure there.
Yeah.
In my mind, the only thing that confuses me is like, but then why don't you just pick a jungle and pick a good top, like a better top laner?
Mm.
Because they were able to get some good ganks onto or get pressure up top, but like that's such an unstable lane. It was very concerning. Like in solo queue it works because your jungler's not always helping you, but watching that in the actual game, I was like, oh, this could collapse upon itself. And luckily it barely didn't, but I don't know if that's because of Huni's play. I really don't think so.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, what I'll say about the Nocturne pick is I honestly feel like it's the same as Jensen's Ari.
Okay.
I feel like you can pick it late into the draft as maybe a counter pick or in a specific team comp, but
Hmm.
I also feel like both of them are 2-0. But I also feel like those two games they won, they could have picked a different champion and the outcome still would have been the same. I don't think they won because of Nocturne. I don't think TL won because of Ari. So I'm not sold on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, it was played in other regions, so you can, of course, TSM is going to try to, mimic things that they see. It always worries me though that they try to experiment in like playoff games or something like that. I will say though that both times I felt like TSM's game one were really good. Like I felt like they were really prepared. It seemed like they really knew what they were going to do. Like if you
Fell
notice,
behind.
yeah, well, in game one though, you could see that in the first game, they made this concerted effort to get early vision in the enemy's jungle. Even Huni had a late ward on topside Krugs just to make sure they could spot out Svenskeren. And there was a late invade bot to get a ward in the blue side. But either way, I feel like with their draft or anything, it seems like they come in with a game plan and at least they have like a trajectory. But I feel like after that, the mid games kind of seem like they're a little bit lost. And then luckily, like I said, I think they were able to get that lucky pick in game three and the momentum shifted. And honestly, that was a very close 3-1 series. In the end, Sword Art was the MVP. What do you guys think? Agree, disagree?
I can see it and I can agree. Um, I'm saying that hesitantly because I actually don't know who the MVP is of this series. It was actually kind of hard to tell. I mean, I
Hmm.
know who it wasn't, and it wasn't Huni, but um,
Yeah, for sure.
I I don't know. I feel like I felt this way about last week too, and I felt about both these games this weekend. It's really hard to tell who's the MVP of the series,
Mm,
so I don't fault um the people at Riot like giving them MVPs or just kind of deciding. Um, because it just feels like such a team game, right? There's no clearly one person who's 1v9ing or clearly one person who's just playing perfectly or way better than all of his teammates. It felt like, Sword Art had a lot of great plays and
hmm.
a lot of great timings, especially on that rail and stuff, and on the Nautilus. But,
Yeah,
like, I mean, I thought Spica played pretty well, but he got 4 games at Udyr, so people maybe he got a really strong pick right. I thought Power of Evil played pretty well, especially on the Syndra
oh
in
yeah.
the last game.
Hmm.
When Lost like actually got picked at that last fight, he ended
Yeah.
up hard carrying that fight, even though Lost got picked so early. So, to be honest, I would just give it to Deathly. I think Deathly deserves MVP.
Yeah, give
Agreed.
him one more for the season.
Yeah, one more.
Um, I dang, I really like that one. I actually agree with that. But with the original topic in mind, yeah, I
Not
think
gonna
so.
lie, I was
It's
gonna
fine
say
to
that,
give it to
Mitchell.
Yeah.
him. I think it's a good sign for TSM that no one looked like the MVP in the sense that like if everyone's just playing at an average-ish level, like they're all playing decently well, no one needs to hard carry. Like that's a good sign.
Yeah.
If you can edge out a team 3-1, like yes, it was close, but no one needed to like put on the super carry pants and really 1v9 this time around as much as they were required to do in past series.
Bjergsen.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
I didn't want to bring up he who shall not be spoken of, but
Uh
yes,
huh.
yeah, Bjergsen.
Yeah.
I do think that sort of again, I think he keeps them on track. Like the whole engaging them, taking fights, being proactive, all those things that he does, especially last week. Uh, but even so, this week, I think he really has defined how this team plays. They really basically play like LPL. It's
Yeah.
a very familiar style to watch. And so it's strange for me to watch TSM play like that. It's just at times we do drop the ball. Like we don't have an LPL top laner. We don't even have
It's
an
true.
LCK top laner. Let's be real.
Rip.
He can be good. Like I'm not gonna just rag on Huni. Like he wasn't terrible. It's just it
Yeah.
feels like if I were Speak, I'd be extremely stressed out to have him top lane. Like it's just like you always have a ticking time bomb that could go blow up either way,
Mm-hmm.
or both ways in the same game. So
Yeah.
I know the feeling. I know
Agreed.
the feeling.
Yeah.
Top
yeah,
lane.
I don't really have anything. I mean, you guys said it all really.
Okay. So you agree Sword Art's good MVP choice?
Would you think of Lost in his gameplay?
Yeah. That's a
Uh,
good question.
I think he played well. I mean, I don't know. I feel like a lot of the time, AD carries if their team looks good, you look good.
Okay.
If you're ahead, you can easily free hit and do damage,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Right.
it's I don't know. I think he played well. I got no faults with it.
Okay.
What about Deathly then? Because everybody's been memeing on Deathly. I
Mhm.
just memed Deathly. He
Yeah.
was like 9-1 game one and like was really really fed and not able to carry the game. Like, do you fault him for that?
Uh, partially yes. Game one was the Nocturne Rel game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
He.
I
Yeah.
mean, I don't want to be that guy, but I'm going to. The fact that he kept getting caught out by that combo is on him.
Mhm.
Because especially on Tristana, you can stay super far back, and you kind of have to, because there
Mhm.
isn't counterplay to that combo
Yeah.
aside from staying out of vision or staying far enough away from Rel. So if Nocturne ults you, you don't get hit by the stun.
Yeah.
Those are your only two options. And even if he doesn't die to it, but if he's out of the fight not doing damage, he's not doing his job, making him worthless.
Yes.
Mm.
So
That's what I
I
mean.
I lied. It was game four. He was 9-1 on. That was my bad on the
Okay, so
Kaisa.
game 4.
Game one on Tristana, he just kept getting one shot by Nocturne Realm.
gotcha.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you, Alistair. Like, after you get comboed by it once, you just need to position differently, right?
It's like playing against Skarner. You don't buy QSS because Skarner's not ulting you. Then you get ulted by Skarner, you buy QSS.
Yeah.
Like
It's
monkey
it's
see,
kind of your
monkey
fault.
do. It's
Yeah.
if you're too far away, or sorry, if you're too close, you stay farther away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
All
I
right.
mean, I have a lot of issues with it. His Kaisa game was abysmal. He had so many resources on him. And Kaisa is one of those characters where like you just have so many possibilities to just play make and be safe. And it just felt like he did no damage. Like if your team could get you the resources to get to 10 kills, and like obviously he had to secure some of those himself. But I've just never seen a pro player on a good team play that poorly as Kaisa. Like to me, Kaisa should be a free win at the pro level. And
That's
with that
that's
many
his comfort
resources.
champ too. That's
Yep.
it's every
that's
AD
who
carry's
they.
comfort champ.
Yeah,
Let's be
that
honest.
was
Everyone's comfort champ.
exactly.
Even
So
like people off roll love playing Kaisa. It's so intuitive.
Yeah.
But he
Yeah.
made it look like terrible. He's like flash queuing. I'm not an AD carry main, so maybe he knows something I don't, but it looked awful.
okay. Well, let's move on then to the other game, 100 Thieves versus Dignitas. I'm sorry we have to bring this up, Mitchell, Alistair, but
What? I don't know why
Dignitas.
why you're saying sorry to me. I'm not a
Okay,
Dig fan.
but you predicted them, didn't you?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
we
think
all
all
did.
did.
We all did. You're right.
Uh-huh.
I misspoke. But 100 Thieves 3-0, quick work of Dignitas. I mean, I kind of wanted to see Dignitas. I mean, obviously we all did. We all predicted them, but I kind of wanted to see them go further. But I
Yeah.
gotta say, 100 Thieves did a complete 180. Let's talk about that first. What do you guys think of 100 Thieves?
I mean, they played well. Like, they played absolutely terribly into C9. They played really, really badly. I
Yeah.
thought their drafts were bad. Um, their drafts were not bad, but they weren't great. And C9 honestly drafted kind of bad too. But just like they threw away game one with a nice like they had like Soul Point and a gold lead, and they
Hmm.
just decided to run in and die on a scaling comp, right? And they just tilted off the face of the planet for game two and three and didn't even show up.
Yeah.
Honestly, I felt like Dignitas did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So 100 Thieves, I mean, they had a really close game one, and their mental allowed them to win a couple fights from behind. And when they won game one, they just steamrolled game two and three. They were just consistent. They didn't tilt. They were just the more calm team, it felt like, and just made the more obvious plays. Like, I
Hmm.
don't think they did anything crazy special. They just played very, like, textbook by the book. Yeah, that's all I can say. I mean, someday showed up.
Yeah.
It's against Fake God though, so
Great God though
yay.
was supposed to be good.
Yeah.
Let's finish out the round before I go on their performances in particular because I do think that was a big difference in the game. But Kevin, what'd you think of 100 Thieves?
I think the 100 Thieves. I think they didn't really play that much better than their C9 series. I just think the other team just
Was
played
bad.
a lot worse than C9. I mean, you saw that game one. That was pathetic.
Yeah.
Watching the draft, and then they were like, they wanted Ari to play as if she was like a carry mage. Like they had her in a position in those team fights as if she was supposed to be playing like Azir. And I was like, where is the damage supposed to be coming from in these fights? Like Kalista later game is not a huge damage threat, despite we saw Super Fed Neo during the regular season, but
Yeah.
you pick GP Kalista and you're like, what are you gonna do once you pass like 30 minutes? Ari's not gonna do anything. GP can do damage, but he typically wants other people to be threatening so he can get his combo off.
Right.
So you see Ari getting some pretty good positioning, some pretty good spells off, but nothing happens. The AD carry just walks out scot free. It's pathetic. And then they picked another Ari game too. I think they saw Team Liquid pick it and then didn't understand what role it played in that team. So they were like, yeah, I mean, if it worked for Liquid against TSM, it must work for us. It was really pathetic. So I don't know if I can credit 100 Thieves that much. They did what they were needed to do, and they didn't need to do much more because the other team wasn't really pressuring them that much.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, can't take anything away from 100 Thieves. They won, good for them. I also agree, Dig. They didn't show up. I feel like there wasn't. They weren't on the same page. I mean, I can't remember what game. I think it might have been game 1. They'd Callista to fight in the top river.
Mm-hmm.
Where
Oh yeah.
Neo was playing really well. It was a really close fight, but it felt like at the end there was one person saying back off, take the trade, and the other saying go back in.
Go back,
and they
yeah.
kept fighting it, and they end 4-for-4 with
Yeah.
the support living and the Gnar living. I felt like they could have won that if they had committed, but I also felt like it would have been fine if they just walked away.
Yeah.
And I think after that, I think that's just where it ended right there.
Yeah. Now we can't go through this series without talking about that Ari pick. Let's unpack that just a little bit more because we mentioned last week that, we could see Ari as maybe a blind pick because she doesn't really have like super hard counters. But in both times that Dignitas picked Ari, she was last pick. So they used her like that. That made no sense. First of all, like that's part of the strength of, in draft, at least, is to pick a champ that kind of can be, be okay no matter what they pick. But also, there was no Everfrost in game 1. And this is like, okay, so he built Leandries, and they're talking about he wants to do damage to tanks in the front line. But we already talked about this. Yeah, why are you picking Ari? And if Ari doesn't build a utility item like previously Hextech GLP or in this case Everfrost, you are literally useless. So I just my mind was bogged. He built it second, I think it was game 2, but still, just totally didn't make sense on any account.
I mean, just imagine you Everfrost into GP alt / GP barrels. Like that's a lot better, and that's exactly what they both drafted. Both Team Liquid and Dignitas drafted Ari mid and GP top, but Liquid's drafting was a lot more intelligent because it was like, here's just the same matchup into your Lucian first pick or whatever, first round pick, and you don't know now you don't know if you're going to put Lucian top or mid, but we can handle it if it goes mid, so it's no longer countering our picks.
Yeah.
Diggs' case, it wasn't a surprise. The only thing that surprised him was that he was trying to build damage on Ari. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Bamboozling your own team does not gain you points in League of Legends. That's not how it works.
I don't know. It's like they said, okay, Everfrost Ari was not enough damage for our team comp. What do we take this game? Ari with Leandries.
With Leandries.
Like,
oh my god, they must have lost a subscriber bet or something. Like,
I don't
subscriber reward.
Makes
2
no
Ari
sense.
games to playoffs.
They're just playing Ultimate Bravery with their draft. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Ari, like I said earlier, I'm not sold on it. I don't think it's good. Just play Victor. I think he's better. I think a lot of people would agree with me that Victor's just better.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think there's only a couple scenarios where Ari is good in competitive play, like unless you're really, really good at her, is, as a safe blind pick where they have a ton of gap closes and dashes and you need to be playing hard weak side mid lane, right? And you have damage on the other side. You're just there to be a hard to kill CC bot that does some damage, right?
Yep.
And that's not what Dignitas needed, right? They drafted comps with very mid-rangey sort of engage, right? Their engage is Udyr or Volibear and Thresh.
Yeah.
If you want to pick Ari, right, you need more setup and more damage, essentially, right? Basically, what I'm saying is you probably need a different top laner and maybe even a different support. You don't really want Thresh, maybe. I think you probably want a big, more AoE teamfighty support and top laner. And it's like, it's not even that they played weak side too. They kept ganking mid. That was also my issue with the way they played around it. Is if Ari gets kills, she's still not going to kill Hecarim. She's still not going to kill Gnar. She's still not going to kill an Alistar or a Rel. You have to get your other members fed. You have to roam around. And then that leads to another problem with the Ari pick is who are you roaming for? I like you can roam for Neo and Afro, but unfortunately, Fake God was on GP and did not look very comfortable.
Yeah.
So we can talk about the
Absolutely.
top lane matchup
Well,
right
that's what
now.
I wanted to kind of talk about, kind of segueing into that is, first of all, Ryoma's performance, right? I felt like he
Hmm.
did miss a couple Ori alts and he played fine, you know, on Ori
Very
and
few.
Zoe. But I mean, again, two of those games were against Ari, right? And, you know, just in general, the solo laners of 100 Thieves I felt really came through as opposed to Fake God and Saligo, which were really good, surprisingly good in regular season, but definitely gapped in this series. And, you know, talking about someday, he was the MVP and his NAR was just, I mean, insane, drawing so much pressure, solo killing GP. Definitely Fake God got worked. And this was the time where we were, you know, we had mentioned all this time before that someday seems to be good at laning, but can't really translate his leads into, you know, team fight pressure or pressure in the game. He definitely did it this series, and I think he wholeheartedly deserved that MVP. So yeah, go ahead. Talk about those matchups real quick.
Yeah, so I think game one, Fake God kind of got some early trades that were looking really good for GP, and he got a little too cocky and he
Yeah,
died to a gank.
he did.
Like 100 Thieves was actually pretty behind in the game until Fake God died, and then it kind of just started steamrolling into just random skirmishes over and over. But like Dignitas got two early kills and had a massive gold lead and had really good lane setups, right?
Hmm.
And they just felt themselves a little too much.
Yeah,
I felt like Fake God, like after he died to that gank, he was just tilted. He was kind of just like running up and just like there was this one time where Someday dove him in the bot lane, and Fake God just ulted and just stood still in auto and was like, I hope I stat check the Gnar, and he
yeah.
didn't.
Oh
um,
man.
I think another issue is Fake God's champion pool. Like he can't punish a Gnar, right? He
Hmm.
punished a Gnar with a GP, and it's not really punishing a Gnar. It's just hoping to scale and avoid him, right? If you actually want to punish a Gnar, you have to play Aurelia. You have to play Kennen. You have to play a Vlad, right? You have to play something that can get on top of him and outscale him and just like completely win the side lane, right? Because otherwise, Mininar will win the side lane for you and Meganar will win the team fight for you.
Yeah.
Um, I do think that Someday played well, but I think it's not gonna really happen again because Fake God did not have the champion pool for it
Hmm.
and he didn't have the playstyle for it to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100 T had good insight in the draft. I'm pretty sure Fake Guy was like 3-0, 4-0 during the regular season on Nar specifically, his most played character, one of his most. And they just got prio on it. And then at the end, Dignitas didn't even like they just had to ban it out in game 3. It was really pathetic. I don't really get what the Dignitas game plan is.
Yeah.
I assume whatever plan they had was like Ari was supposed to like surprise the other team and get a win and get momentum from there, and then they're just playing collapse because
That didn't
their
happen.
drafts were very uninspired. They were just picking default characters. Like it was like game 3 was the most like default. I am scared of losing this series picks I've ever seen. It was Renekton top, Udyr jungle, Zyra combat, and Ori mid. Like
And they
I
still
mean,
inted early game.
they found a way to int with that. Like at least do something with it. I'm upset at them, as if you couldn't tell.
Yeah, I mean they definitely, you know, just to close this one out is that they just inted that, you know, early game in game 3, and it just felt like once they messed up once, Dardoch in particular just felt like he's just yellowing it, and I think the rest of Dignitas was like, we're just gonna follow you and do the same thing. But either way, you know, we did not show up. 100 Thieves did what they were supposed to do. So congratulations to them. They still are in it. But again, you know, when we get to predictions, it's going to be interesting to hear your guys' thoughts on what they,
I
you know,
I would like to do a final shout out to Dignitas. Unlike
there we
EG,
go.
Dignitas had a lot of new members
Yeah.
coming into playoffs, right? Like literally three of their players had never been in playoffs before,
There you
right?
go. Maybe stage fright too. A little, not stage fright,
Exactly.
but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
their first time. They're a very
Hmm.
new roster. I think the only disappointing thing is maybe Dardoch, who is a massive veteran, didn't play very well.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. He kind of was just inting.
Yeah.
But I think for, Saligo, Fake God, Neo, I mean, they should just take this as, yeah, they got beat by a much more experienced roster, right? A much more veteran roster, and they're very green players, right? Neo is literally a rookie,
Mm-hmm.
and Fake God and Saligo are essentially rookies. They're very green. They have maybe one split on them in very discordant situations. So
Yep.
I just think we still give them props, right? Unlike EG, who is just five veterans and managed to just throw away a lot of leads in their games, I think that should be disappointing, honestly, if you're EG fans. But
Yeah.
Dignitas, I think you just come away with it sucks, but we move on to next season.
R.I.P. I will be getting a Big Mac in honor of Dignitas this weekend. All
I'll
right.
go to Burger King, man. Screw that.
All right. It's time for Around the Web. We're going to take a look at some things around the web regarding the LCS that were kind of hot topics this past week and discuss them. So first up, we got Perkz in an interview basically saying, why the heck is NA the only region that is playing on patch 11.5 when every other region is playing, on 11.6? And when MSI rolls around, it will be played on 11.6. Am I correct? Is that correct? Or 11.7? Either way.
MSI will play. We don't know. It might even be played on 11.8.
See, so the whole point is that we're behind big time. And so the fact that they have to scrim on patch 11.5 and then in solo queue they're playing 11.6, it really is hard for him to kind of work that out. And so just get your guys' thoughts on this. I mean, it is a kind of a big yikes. I understand because our playoff schedule didn't line up, but what do you think? Should we have worked it so that we would be on 11.6, delay playoffs or something like that? I don't know. But what do you guys think about this?
It's awful. I think it's absolutely awful when these patches are pretty significant and you have to play solo queue a whole patch behind, 2 patches behind.
Yeah.
And playoffs are just not the same patch. I think it's awful. I don't know what the workaround is. Maybe just delay playoffs or maybe just boot it up to 11.6, right? Yeah. That's all I'm gonna say about it. Really, I completely agree with Perkz being upset. If I was a pro player, I'd be very upset too.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at pro play. I mean, LEC playoffs started around the same time as ours did. I remember watching LEC right before I watched LCS. So what excuse is there that we can't play on 11.6, but other regions around the world can? I strongly don't understand that decision.
Yeah.
At worst, like if we had to rush 11.6 or week 1, okay, so week 1 happens, it was a little rush, but then you have multiple weeks to practice on that.
That's right.
I assume MSI will be on patch 11.6 because it would be weird for them to switch patches to MSI and then just like have no pro play in between. But if it isn't, if it's on 11.8, it's still better to be more caught up to date on the most recent pro play before you have to go. So I think LCS doesn't need more handicaps. We don't need more. Well, I guess we need more excuses, but I don't want more excuses, right?
We have more excuses in the back pocket now. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess they're throwing us a bone there. Sure,
Yeah.
go NA. But honestly, it's just nonsense. I don't. For like LCS takes a long time to make good decisions, like the lock-in tournament. But then sometimes they just like take a step back or 2 steps back, and it just seems like totally self-inflicted. So it pains me. I hope we can catch up, but like honestly, like realistically speaking, we will not have any best of fives played on the most recent patch going up to Worlds or MSI, regardless of if they change patches for MSI or not. We'll still be a patch behind no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, especially with how big 11.6 was. We got Volibear, we got Silas, we got Akali Xin Zhao. I'm pretty sure we also got Serpent Fang as well, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes.
Death Cap buffs, we got Luden's changes, we got Seekers and Verdant Barrier changes, Shirelia buffs. Like, there's a lot in here that makes a big difference, and being a patch behind on this is huge. Like, it can't really be understated how important these changes are going to be, especially in an international tournament like MSI.
Yeah, I mean, anecdotally, LPL used to play a patch behind all the time because of Lunar New Year's. And I think it was up until season 6 or 7 that they played a patch behind. So whenever they went to a tournament, it was like, had less practice. Coincidentally, once they stopped playing on it, they started improving internationally. I'm just saying, I don't know why NA feels the need. Like this, I think this is the first time we've been down a patch too. It's not like we don't know how to do this. So let's not beat a dead horse,
I'm wondering if it's like Yeah, I'm wondering if it's like an oversight. Somebody's like, "Oops!" Like, I don't know.
Jeez.
I don't know because this kind of seems like a big deal. Like, you know what I mean?
It
Like,
is.
it's huge. First of all, you know that us as a region, as the fans of the region, we're clamoring. I mean, that's been a big thing. We want to do well internationally, of course. We say that all the time, and this just is plain as day an easy decision or easy move to make where we should be playing on the most up-to-date patch, especially if every other region is already playing on it. They're definitely getting more practice time. Doesn't make sense. Once again, we're getting trolled by our own by our own league.
It's the work from home thing. They just you were supposed to do it, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, I thought you were doing it.
Someone messed up on Slack. Okay. Well.
Oh my God.
Man.
Here's the other thing, right? You're scrimming on 11.6. You're not scrimming on 11.5.
They have
I
tournament
assume
realm.
you have to, right?
I think
Does
they
tournament realm
are.
have rollback though?
Do they have? Are they able to scrim on 11.5?
That's a good.
I hope so. For the love of God,
Yeah.
I hope so.
No,
I don't know.
I think they do because in the interview, Perkz was saying that it's weird because they scrim and they play on 11.5,
Okay.
but then solo queue is 11.6, so it's
Okay.
weird because they can't try stuff. It's so different.
Well,
This
either
one's
way, if it
fine.
being on two different patches, it's not beneficial at all.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I don't
I
think so.
can I can't say I have the exact same experience, but I've been in a playoff last split where the match was the day after the patch dropped, so you couldn't practice anything, and the patch that dropped was preseason.
Yeah. Yep. I remember that. Yeah.
Oh,
That's cursed.
feels good.
It's the ups and downs of having a patch schedule so recently, right? You have a
Mhm.
large patch every 2 weeks. Like, it's one of the big downsides, right? You can't balance competitive with, solo queue because
Yeah.
solo queue you really want that patch every 2 weeks. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's move on then to the next thing is so in a Run It episode, which I really like, by the way, by Tim Seven Huisen, I think is how you pronounce his name. But he's part of the Travis Gafford channel, and he talks about this because a lot of people were upset that Perkz won the All Pro mid lane vote, and he also voted for Perkz, and he broke down why. And of course, he's a numbers guy, and he likes to go by the numbers. And it was interesting. And a lot of people were then convinced that maybe Perkz did deserve the all pro mid vote. But I wanted to get your thoughts on that because a lot of people were still saying it should have been PoE. In fact, that was the second vote getter. So let me get your guys' thoughts on. Have you guys seen the video by any chance? And if you did,
Yeah.
like, what'd you think? So let's start with you, Mitchell. Then.
I watched the video. I can agree with some of the points he made. It's just when it comes to me being an actual person who plays the game a lot and who's been watching for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
the eye test still doesn't hold up for me.
Yeah.
Yes, I get that Perkz is going for plays, and those are his mistakes when he goes too far, and Power Evil is not making plays, and that's the mistakes he's making, right? So visually, it looks like Perkz is inting and PoE is AFK, and inting is going to catch your eye more, especially
Yeah.
from a squirrel audience, right? Low attention span.
Yeah.
But I still think PoE is just a more defining player on his team as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think Perkz could be replaced by another mid laner, and the job would still be done because of how insanely good the synergy between Blabber and his bot lane is, right? I think that
That's
just
true.
trio from last year is unstoppable. Not unstoppable, but just like really, really hard to
Yeah.
beat. And Perkz is, along for the ride. I do think when you go to TSM, their organization and communication can be really, really bad, and it's PoE making big plays. It's PoE 1v9ing. It's PoE saying, I don't actually have a team, and the communication is really, really poor, but I will outskill my opponents.
Mm-hmm.
So I still go PoE.
Okay.
I mean, I was on the PoE train last week as well. I definitely said it as much on broadcast. But I do think after watching the video, I would say at least there's a legitimate case to be made for Perkz. I do think numbers are important. I mean, the guy who runs Oracle Elixir, like, yeah, he obviously knows numbers.
Yeah.
I still believe in the eye test is a little. I weigh it heavier in my eye, and I
Mhm.
also agree that, like, yeah, you're gonna look worse when you try to play make, and you'll have more good and bad times.
Mm-hmm.
But you do put a lot of pressure on the enemy team. The thing that would tip me toward Perkz, if I had to say Perkz deserves it, is one, that effective champion pool point that
Mhm.
Tim made was a huge deal. Like, I think Perkz has played like 9 or 8 unique champions, while PoE's played like 4 or something. Like, it was something
5,
very
yeah.
small,
Yeah.
5, relatively
Mhm.
speaking. And I think that, like, especially because some of the champions, like PoE played Seraphine in playoffs, but like it was wildly ineffective
Yeah.
for a character that isn't that hard to execute. When you don't have that many super strong picks, or you only have like 2 or 3 strong picks instead of like 5 or 6, it really hurts your draft flexibility and your ability to like get that killer bot lane, the killer jungle, whatever your team is looking for.
Mhm.
And perhaps that's why, honestly, TSM just has a lot of places where they don't have a lot of character flexibility.
Yeah,
So
it's true.
it would be more valuable for TSM in a series against like Liquid if they could play like Seraphine like at a killer level or some. I don't know how you play Seraphine at a killer level, to be honest, but just hit the ults, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. So my point is, draft Perkz does like objectively give more draft pressure just because he was 5-0 instead of 6-0 on 0 in the regular season,
Yeah.
and then he played like 8 other characters instead of 5. I would say that other than that, at the end of the day, like it was nice to see that they broke down how many pros, how many Riot
Yeah,
employees
that's
I think
true.
it was, and then how
Mhm.
many third-party media voted. It's pretty much even down the board. Like the media was the one that tipped
Tip,
Perks
yeah.
over. While if you
Mhm.
listen to pros only, I think it was like 1 or 2 votes in the favor of PoE.
Yep.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
that's very close, and I think it literally just boiled down to like some people see the flexibility and the playmaking value, and some people see the ins and they're like, hey, I would rather have Mr. Consistency. So I
Mhm.
don't think there was a wrong answer this time around. I think I'll lean towards PoE a little bit more just because I think losing the game is just a net negative, regardless of your
Regardless,
pressure.
yeah.
Like he's just if you're a bomb in the mid lane, that's really scary for you to play with, and it might make TSM look worse or C9 will look worse at times
Mm.
TSM.
Yeah.
So yeah, I still think PoE, but I do think Perkz has a legitimate claim to it, and it's not as awful of a pick as I thought it was
Mhm.
about 7 days ago.
Okay.
I mean, I have Perk second. I still don't think he deserved it over PoE personally. I think just PoE has been more important to his team, and that's what I personally
Yeah,
partially
I'm with you
base
on
it
that
off of.
one. Mhm.
Is if you're and that's also why I gave votes to people like Dardoch and
Mhm.
Palafox, right? Because they're so important to their team, and their team would be doing a lot worse if it wasn't them. It's like what one of you guys said, where Perks could have been Niski could have stayed on C9. I feel like they're still winning a bunch of these games.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're right.
But if you replace Niski with PoE, I TSM's record does not look as good as it does.
It's interesting. Yeah, interesting point. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you guys on all of that. Again, I feel like it was a matter of what do you value more. I think obviously Tim and others like him value those stats, and I do like stats and all that stuff. But again, who do I think was the most impactful for their team? To me, it has to be Poe. Just flat out. So good arguments for either case. But okay, let's move on now to our Discord take of the week. This is where we take one of
Ooh,
your hot takes for those of you in the Discord. And
fancy.
the person who won this week's Discord take of the week is none other than Kimmer. And so
Ooh.
thank you for sending this in, and we'll get to your take. But again, if you guys want to submit your take, first of all, join the Discord. You can go to that at theallinpodcast.info. And then we send out a form every week where you can submit your hot takes. But the hot take of the week is this, and it's more of a question, but I think it's a good discussion point. But it's what import has had the most impact for their teams and who will continue to have the most impact. And there are a lot of good imports. So,
Yep.
I mean, MVP level imports. So, go ahead. I'll start with you, Mitchell.
All
Go down
right.
the line.
So we talking this split this season
Yeah,
here?
right now, like I would assume too, and it was for the playoffs too. Sorry,
Yeah.
I should have clarified. He did put for the playoffs.
Okay, for the playoffs,
Hmm.
so I'm gonna have to go Alfari here,
Okay.
hands down. I think Alfari has honestly just done something that NA has never seen, and that is just be an incredibly consistent, overbearing top laner
Mm,
that can play multiple styles and just be a rock. He will rarely lose you the game, rarely inch you the game, will oftentimes win you the game.
yeah.
We've had top laners be very, very good, but they don't really have the consistency level down.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's Alfari. I think Team Liquid would not look as good without Alfari. I think if they had any other top laner but Alfari and Impact, they actually look much, much worse.
Yeah.
They need that consistency in the top lane. That's what both players brought. But Alfari brought another level above Impact of just absolutely carry God. So that's what I'm going to go with. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Kevin.
I would say that like as far I thought the question was about normal season as well, but if it's about playoffs, it's obviously Alfari in my mind. If it's about both, I was between Sword Art and Alfari really quickly, just to give Sword Art the honorable mention.
Yeah.
Very few players define a team's playstyle. The only example I can think of in recent memory is like Core JJ comes in as an import, really shakes up the team, makes them a much more solid, well-rounded team.
Mm-hmm.
Sword Art's a little different. He makes them a much more proactive and aggressive team. Like they go for those Barons. Like no other team takes this many sneak or pressure Barons where they just test you and they're like, hey, do you know what you're doing? Because if you don't, we're gonna take Baron.
Yeah. You're right.
And so stuff like that is very impressive. But in playoffs, like Alfari, I totally agree with Mitch. Like we've never had a carry top like this.
That's right.
We've always been like, oh, Impact's like a really good solid tank player. He's like a very good team fighter. He can like solo kill NA tops. But like we always are concerned, like if he goes up against the Shies of the world or Naguri, like he's gonna get smacked. Or we had Licorice, who was a superstar in NA, and then he gets 5-0'd by Keen, who even in winning games for C9, where they 3-0'd Afrika. Like it's just embarrassing for NA tops. Like traditionally, we had Dyrus get clowned on because his team played weak side. We've never had a strong side top where we're like, bro, I want to see X player go to an international event,
true.
and I want to see how they match up against like Kana or whatever. Well, Kana's not coming, but whoever gets there, like Naguri or Bin or whoever. So it's just nice to like not have to play weak side top every game. Like still Liquid can play it, but having that option honestly makes me more excited for Liquid than like if C9 win. Like C9 might be the more better, well-rounded team at the end of the split, and they might beat Liquid. But if they go with Fudge, like I'm so worried for him against Naguri.
Oh yeah,
MSI.
absolutely.
Like I don't want to see that. I actually don't want to see it because it's going to be painful. Even if he's not bad, I think it's going to be painful. I want to see it.
Gonna suck for us. Yeah.
So it's Alfari.
Okay.
Very long answer. It's Alfari.
Alfari.
Short answer. It's definitely Alfari.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
There's no way to argue. I mean, Sword Art's honorable mention, but you can't really argue that it's not Alfari.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think this question is good because there's a lot of considerations. Like, I mean, even
Not really.
just think about it though. Like, what I mean is there's a lot of imports that do impact their team though. Like PoE is an import, right? Like Perkz hasn't had the impact, but Perkz playoff buff.
Perkz.
None of us had Perkz, right? So Sword Art,
none of them are Alfari, so like who cares?
and none of them are Alfari, but it's nice to mention them. Alistair, geez, so one-minded here. But I think it's good because again, I think all of you guys mentioned the thing is that what sets Alfari apart is that it's something we haven't really seen in our league in a long time. Actually, yeah. At all, have we? I don't know if we have, like, at all. Like a top laner.
Sunday was supposed to be that.
Okay.
Sunday was supposed to be that. Impact was supposed to be that. Like Chris was supposed to be that. Like we had so many people who were supposed to be that.
Yeah,
Huni was definitely supposed to be that. He was kind of that with Reign Over, but it was kind of a Reign Over, making
duo.
the place to make Huni an amazing player.
Synergy thing. Yeah.
Santorin's fine, but it doesn't feel like he's abusing the top laner. It's more so self-made leads that snowball with the jungle's help.
Yeah. I would like to, before we move on from Discord take of the week, is give a special shout out, I think, to Crits, who made a hot take that Dignitas would not win a single game in playoffs.
Oh, that's right.
So shout out to Crits from a couple weeks ago. Nice take, buddy. Kind of hurts to give you the shout out, but obviously well deserved that we picked you.
It's in our face actually, because we all predicted Dignitas to win that series. So kudos to Crits. All right. Well, again, thank you for your takes, guys. Hope to see you guys see more interesting takes for next week. Let's move on to what I think is my favorite segment is predictions. So the winner of last week's predictions is we actually had a tie again between Firestreak and Crisp. So congratulations to you two. So just like before, what we're going to do is we're going to carry this over into next week. So you guys are the only two who can submit your predictions for next week. And if we have a winner there, then we'll give the prize then. But both of these people predicted the winner and games correctly for TSM and EG. And then they also correctly predicted the winner for 100 Thieves and Dignitas. So congratulations. And I hope to see your guys' prediction for, the next week. All right.
Yeah,
So
it's they're actually they're a duo of
okay.
ADC and support in
Oh,
Lotus
hey.
White. So
Look at
a
that.
little bit of family struggles here. Who's gonna come out on top?
Marital dispute.
Yep, marital dispute.
Or
So that'll be
I would
exciting.
venture to say that maybe they're really good synergy wise, right? I mean, they're thinking the same thing, right? Like, so hey, I mean, you never know. As far as us with predictions, we obviously all got the Dignitas 100 Thieves series wrong because we all predicted Dignitas. But it's interesting because me and Mitchell only got 1 point because we only correctly predicted TSM. We got our games wrong. Kevin got 2 points because he correctly predicted TSM 3-1. And then Alistair correctly predicted not just the winner, not just the games, but also the MVP of Sword Art. And so he got 4 points for that. So congratulations to Alistair. Yeah, he's catching up. Mitchell,
He's catching up. Wait a minute.
He might be right on your heels there, Mitchell.
I have been inting for Dignitas, and it is not good, guys. It is not good. Like that last week of LCS, I just predicted Dignitas to go 3-0. They went like 0-3 or 1-2 or something. It's just been downhill from there, guys.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I do that a lot for TSM, so it's fine. You're good. Okay, let's go to C9 versus TL. I'm so hype for this matchup. What is the prediction here? Let's start with you. Actually, I want to start with Kevin because Kevin. Okay, let's start with the coin. We didn't even do the coin last week, but it's
okay.
Put the coin in there if you want.
The coin was 3-1 Cloud9.
3-1
Start with
Cloud9.
that.
Okay.
Well, I mean, then let's actually start with me because that's just a bad take. So I said that TSM versus TL could be the new Classico, but let's be real. It's TL versus C9 is the Classico right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking it's gonna be a banger of a series. I think that TL found the winning formula against C9 both in the late game, but also during the regular season. Like they more or less figured out where to play through. It's clearly like a top mid focus, so that you just put pressure there, play a weaker side bot, and just overwhelm like C9. 100 Thieves showed a blueprint for trying to pressure bot and like send literally 3 people to repeat gank bot, and like Team Liquid was just like, all right, we'll just kill top and we'll win the game. What's your plan now? So I think C9 is in big trouble because they just saw that like a potential plan is not going to work unless they have a much smarter version of it. And Blabber is a better player, sure, but I think that C9 is in a lot of trouble. That being said, C9 is of a caliber of a team that, while we haven't really seen much of them, like they just destroyed 100 Thieves. So we have no idea if they're strong or weak going to playoffs. I think C9 can bring it to 5 games, and I think TL is going to win it, and I think the MVP is going to be Jensen. He's probably going to suppress Perkz and then just play more clutch. Like I think Jensen's playing hot, and I'm betting that he's going to continue to play hot, which is why I think he'll become MVP, because I think that's where the focus is going to be, even though mid lane's not the most important role. I mean, Jensen got it last time because he just looked like a superstar in a role that, like, isn't necessarily the most damaging or impactful role.
Yeah, he did. Okay. All right. Now let's go to you, Mitchell.
I am not sure what I want to predict. To be fair, can we give me a little bit more time to think?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Okay.
No.
No, right now on the spot.
Alistair says no.
Spot.
Good gosh, this guy doesn't
Alrighty.
play.
Prepared, Mitchell.
I know. I changed my mind when I heard what. Okay.
You got lawyered.
If he changes his mind when I said that, I'm flattered. I think we should give him
Yeah,
more time.
I did. I was gonna maybe think C9, but oh man. Okay. All right, fine. I'll go.
Okay.
I think. Yeah, it's gonna be TL 3-2. Oh man. All right. I think it's gonna be TL 3-2. But I do think MVP is going to be Alfari instead. I think there's going to be a massive canyon in the top lane. I do think that Jensen is hot right now, but I was coming into this matchup thinking that Perkz has just had such a good history against Jensen. He's very comfortable. He has a lot of counter picks, right? If they give him mid lane, maybe Perkz finds a time to, pop off. And if there was a time, it's in one of the most contentious matchups ever.
Yeah.
Uh, Perkz versus TL is a classic when he was on G2. So I expect Perkz to really bring it up. I also think Sven and Vulcan, they do not punish bot lane very well, but they do play like consistently very well.
Hmm.
So I also expect a lot of top lane focus, top side map focus, but it's going to be Perkz making the difference maker with a different champion pool, a different play style to come up and, edge out in the top side. That's why I was initially thinking, but then I just realized like how good is Alfari, guys? How good
Mm.
is Core JJ, guys? Like
Mm.
I do think that it's going to be just a top gap, and that's why it's 3-2. That's why it's going to be
Okay.
close. And I wouldn't be surprised if C9 took it 3-2 as well.
Oh, okay. All right, Alistair. What about you?
All right, I'm actually gonna go 3-1 Team Liquid
Okay.
with MVP of Core JJ.
All right. Kind of
Um,
different.
I I say this because I think, like you said, Mitchell, C9 doesn't punish bot lane very much, and I think that's gonna
Mm.
leave Vulcan and Core JJ to roam a lot. And just from what I've heard about Core JJ and all, basically like the mental kind that he has for the league, I think he's going to do enough research to be able to read Vulcan. I think he's just going to get better roams off, and I think he's going to win the game through that.
Okay. Yeah. That's a really good point because I think you're right. Just like the rest of you guys, I think that the game is going to boil down to the top top gap, top lane gap, and how much or how well can C9 stop the bleeding, so to speak, or can Fudge hold his own, or from what I've seen, too, Team Liquid has by far had the best early game all season and even into the playoffs. And so for me, I think it's going to be all about can C9 contain them or at least stay relatively close in the early game to then make a difference in the mid to late game because Team Liquid, that's kind of where they have a falter. They've had weaknesses in trying to close out games at certain times. Their early game has been consistently solid, and if they're playing like they have been playing lately, where they just keep continuing to snowball off those early game leads, then I think C9 is in a lot of trouble. So I think it's going to be all about can C9 do enough to still stay relevant or even, get the lead early game so that they can, take away that mid to late game from Team Liquid. So I think it's going to be 3-2 Team Liquid. And I'm also going Alfari because I do think it's going to be,
Hey,
I got the same thing as Mitchell because I do think that's going to be where TL I think is going to keep pushing on that that
I
lane.
was this close to 3-2 C9 Perkz, by the way. Just wanted to tell everybody
Woo!
that. Yeah,
We would have
that's where I
come
came
full. We
into
would have
it.
come full circle then, because that was
Yeah,
who you were all on the Perks train when
yeah,
Lock-in tournament happened. So, but
yeah.
that's cool. That's cool. All right.
But nope, it's not happening.
Okay. Cool. All right. Let's go to our final game. TSM versus 100 Thieves. Who wants to take this one?
I don't want to talk about this team. This team sucks.
Yeah, 100 Thieves. I
I'll
know.
take it. I'll take it then. I'll take it then. I mean, it's a similar story to the EG game. I think that TSM has been playing well. They just had to play against the best team in the league, and so that's why they had a harder time, and they still put it close. TSM has been trying a lot of things that work and don't work. I'm a little concerned that they played Udyr 4 times in a row and didn't like try anything
Mhm.
else other than that. I mean, yes, it will work, but what is your game plan if you don't have Udyr?
Hecarim.
So yeah, I mean it's Hecarim, but not everyone can play Hecarim well. I think Suika played it fine, so I'm not too concerned. I think 100 Thieves has issues. I think Ryoma was literally choking shockwaves in a game where he
He
was
was.
stomping and like a 20 there were like sub 30-minute. It was like a 26-minute game and 2 35-minute games. I think it was. He was just choking spells that he shouldn't be choking. Like he had a
Mhm.
good Zoe game. Or was it a Zoe game? I know his Ori was not impressive for me, which is what was really annoying me. I think 100 Thieves in general just aren't playing at that level, and they haven't shown any like. Did they show identity that last night? Not really. They just kind of executed what they needed to, and the other team didn't do anything.
They just played better than Dignitas, essentially.
Yeah, Dignitas just had a really bad day.
Exactly.
The jungler was tilted off the face of
Mhm.
the earth. So I think it's going to be TSM. I think TSM is going to win 3-1. I think the MVP is going to be Spica because I still think Closer has a lot of issues and he looked better against the worst team, so give him credit there. But I'm concerned that he hasn't figured out what he's supposed to be doing in this meta.
Okay, fair enough.
So I just don't think it's going to be a close looking 3-1. I think it's just going to be a 3-1 where maybe TSM flubs one draft.
Okay, they pick some. They're going to int themselves and pick something weird in the top
Yep.
lane
It's
again.
just tradition at this point.
Tradition.
You're
Yep.
gonna pick Seraphine mid and int the rest of the
Oh
map.
gosh. Okay.
Rip.
Who's next? Who wants to? Who's the next taker?
Oh my god. Alright, I guess
I'll take
go.
it.
Alright,
Okay,
you go.
I'll take it.
Ooh,
Alright.
Alistar stepping up.
Stepping
I'm
up.
going 3-0 TSM.
Oh, he's doing it.
okay.
No
Alright,
wonder he wanted to get in there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw it out. I don't see where the gap is gonna be. I just don't see I don't see any place where 100 Thieves beats TSM, to be honest. I mean, I think all the lanes TSM's better except for arguably top lane. We'll have to see how Someday
Mhm.
plays. He played well against Dig, but Dig also didn't play well. So I'm just gonna throw that out there. I'm gonna say it's gonna be PoE
Okay.
as MVP.
Mm.
Just because while I have been the one saying I don't think Ryoma's that bad, I think PoE is just a lot better.
Yeah, it's a good point. All right, you ready there, Mitchell, or do you want me to go?
Go TSM fan, go.
All right.
I want to see what everybody's predictions are.
You know who
Pick the
I'm
best one.
predicting. I'm predicting 100 Thieves. Psych, I'm just kidding. I am, of course I am not.
Terrible.
It's going to be 100% TSM. I did actually have it originally 3-2, but I'm thinking it's going to be 3-1. You guys actually lawyered me earlier when you were saying how 100 Thieves, it wasn't so much of them being like super amazing, but just the fact that Dignitas was inting their butts off, which was true. So you've convinced me that 100 Thieves isn't as good in my mind as I originally was thinking. So I think TSM will, so to speak, steamroll them. And I think Power of Evil will be the MVP, just like Alistair, because Ryoma, I guess. That's where I see the gap. And I just think PoE will be able to, just outplay him in every aspect. So that's who I'm going. 3-1, TSM, PoE.
Alrighty. I am... Wow, that's kind of anticlimactic. I was also going to go TSM 3-1
There we go.
PoE. I do think that, 4 of the 5 players on 100 Thieves were the Golden Guardians roster, and
Yeah.
they did make it really, really close against TSM.
That's true.
I'm hoping that they show up. I want to see a close series.
Mhm.
I think 100 Thieves, if they, with a little bit of confidence boost, with a just more focused macro, right? Just like more decisive game plans, I do think they can make this series close. And I was thinking of saying 3-2 TSM, but I am going to go 3-1 TSM as well with PoE. I think PoE was the one that I was always going to predict as MVP. It's just the series score was iffy to me. I could see it going 3-0 or 3-2 or 3-1. I could see any of them because of how inconsistent both teams are.
Yeah.
But I think 3-1 is just a safe bet. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
what I'm
think
gonna go with.
Okay, cool. Well, that's all the predictions. Do you guys have any final thoughts going into this next round of playoffs? We got some pretty good games. I'm excited. But any final thoughts you guys want to add before we wrap up this episode?
I just want to, we do this. We don't have to make this a prediction. I just think it's nice to like get a feeling.
Mhm.
Who do we think is winning this right now, right? Obviously, it'll change after this week and after next week, right? We have more playoff matches, but who do we think is actually going to take the whole thing right now when we feel it?
You mean like what team?
Yeah, what team? Yeah,
Oh, in my mind, I think it's Team Liquid.
yeah.
I hate to say it, but I do think they're the best team.
Nice TSM fan league.
I
guy.
know.
I'm with League
I'm
Dad. I mean, I've
sorry.
been saying this for a few weeks. Like,
sorry.
even when TL was like randomly dropping games, I still thought they were the best team. I still do think they're the best team, and it hasn't changed.
I think Alfari too is just like
I think that's the
God, that
I
guy's
think that's
good.
the deciding factor. I mean,
Yeah.
sure, TL has really good players in all their other roles, but
Mhm.
we already said it. Alfari is by far the best top laner NA has
Yeah.
ever had,
I think so.
and it's not really close.
Yep.
I just don't see how anyone matches that, especially with how strong champions like Gnar and Bruisers are, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I mean, I think it's unfair for the other teams in the sense that like we just haven't seen a good matchup for CNX. Like, CNX stopped the other team. Like they don't get much more credit because they 300 teams, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I also think it's Liquid, but I mean, I was always gonna think that. The thing is that, to be honest, like Alfari was probably one of the number 1 or 2 top laners in Europe when he was on like an 8th place or 9th place team or 10th place, whatever Origin ended on. So like just being that individually amazing doesn't necessarily mean a team will bring it to the finish line, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've seen super teams like that old EG Bang or whatever, Bang Cooney, like that should have been good on paper, and they were pretty terrible
Yeah.
for the amount of money and star power there. Like yes, they got like 3rd or 4th at times, but it wasn't impressive. So I'm worried that Liquid might not have it all together, but they everything that I've seen so far leads me to believe that they should be fine and they should win if the trajectory stays.
Yeah.
Also, it's interesting because we've always just said, like, in previous seasons, we're like, well, Core JJ is the difference maker. Like, they have Core JJ, so, like, it's Core JJ dip, right? Bot dip. Now they have Core JJ, and he hasn't really fallen off.
No,
They
I
just have
know.
to let even
They got
scarier
oh,
up there,
gosh,
like a
yeah.
big brother in the top lane, just in case Core JJ can't carry from support.
Yeah, that's
so that's
true.
terrifying. And the only thing that's more terrifying is tactical has looked worse.
Yep.
We
Yeah.
haven't mentioned it at all, but, like, it's kind of the elephant in the room. Like, will he show up, or will Sven somehow, like, outplay him and hard carry a series and become MVP? Which none of us will predict, so...
That would be nuts. Yeah.
And, Santorin is there too. He just looks like a better version of Xmithy, right? Just an incredibly good
yeah.
pathing, controlling jungler, great ganks, doesn't fall behind, great mechanics too.
Yep.
I do think it's also going to be Team Liquid. Kind of boring, right?
Yeah,
Just
but
kidding, guys. It's Dignitas. McDonald's to the top. Let's go. All right, let's
never
end it on
die.
that.
Yeah. Shoot.
Mitchell's gonna go buy his
the
mental
episode
meal
right
sponsored
there.
by Dardock.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sponsored by Donald.
Give me some toys, some kitty pack.
Well, yeah, I think it's it's kind of hard. I mean, it's a good argument for Team Liquid. So either way, it should be some fun action. And of course, we'll be here next week to talk all about it. I just want to thank my co-hosts again, Mitchell, Kevin, Alistair, for always talking league with this old man right here. But remember, if you're not in our Discord, we want you to be a part of the podcast. So join at theallinpodcast.info. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at questions@theallinpodcast.gg, or you could tweet us at theallinpodcast. But until next time, guys, enjoy your climb on the Rift. Try not to be too toxic, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.